What's an encounter with a celebrity you've had where they were an absolute dick? Vivica A. Fox. I used to be a bartender at a hotel, and she came in with a guy late one night after an event. He ordered a drink for himself and a house red for her, so I turned to her and asked if she preferred cab or merlot. She gave me the dirtiest look like how dare I address her directly, and flounced off to a table without answering. He said just give her red, whatever, and left a 0 tip. They ordered 4 rounds, no tip each time. They also complained that someone else came in and sat at a table near them and tried to get me to make them move. The other guests didn't even try to approach her or talk or anything, she was just mad that they dared to sit at a neighboring table. On the other end of the spectrum, Jay Leno came down one night to grab some dinner and a drink at the bar by himself. He was super polite, funny, and left me a $100 tip. Back in the 90s I worked on the stage musical production of Beauty and the Beast. The guy who played the talking clock is an Australian celebrity by the name of Bert Newton. He always used to say hi and make conversation until he found out I was one of the lighting crew. After that, he wouldn't even glance at me. Slightly related. On the same show, I used to hang out with a dude that played Gaston at stage door having a ciggy during interval. I only recently discovered that it was Hugh Jackman. Really nice dude. Cuba Gooding Jr. cut in line ahead of me and my sister for a pretzel at Disneyland. We were 10 and 8 years old, respectively. This is late, but it needs to be said. I was a bookstore worker for a large chain in a popular city. We did a ton of author signings and talks. Authors are almost universally great. George R.R. Martin was fantastic and really insightful to fans' questions. Stephen King is awesome and stays for everyone. Chuck Palahniuk is great, and really hilarious. Toni Morrison stayed and talked in the coffee shop for hours. Margaret Atwood knows more about books and sci-fi than literally anyone I've ever met. However, the shit crown goes to Mitch Albom. He's a colossal dick to everyone. He openly berated the baristas and the cafe for his coffee's lack of quality. He was a prick to every employee. He sat in this super tight t-shirt and sat with his left arm behind his right to try and push out his biceps and look buffer. Which is hilarious, because he's maybe 5 feet 6 inches and 130 pounds. I'm not going to go as far and say he sexually harassed women, but he was slimy and gross to every woman in sight from ages 18-45. It was the worst signing ever. Plus, he acted like Tuesdays with Maury is wisdom on level with the Dalai Lama. My boss actually had to ask him to leave immediately when his scheduled signing was over. His handler, agent, was a very nice woman who was clearly sick of his shit. That poor lady. I went to a convention near my town. It was a sort of cartoon convention and gaming convention combo. On 10 separate occasions I was asked, "Do you know who I am?" Not a single one of them were people I knew. When I expressed this they all had the same responses but with different names. My name is Sprinkle Tim or some equally ridiculous name, and I have over 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, Twitch. Apparently there was a panel being held about how to grow your internet persona. It drew out some of the worst people ever. I wouldn't even call any of these people celebrities, but that was the image they had in their heads. This goes both ways. I ran into Kirstie Alley 25 years ago, when Veronica's Closet was on. She was quiet, but sweet. People came up and wanted photos, but she was with her kids and politely declined, citing her kids. Nearly everyone acted like she had slapped them and turned them down, but she was calm and gracious. Kinda made me sad. I guarantee that half of these stories are caused by fans being dicks and expecting their hero to respect their crazy fandom. Jennifer Lopez. Anyone who has had to arrange for her visits or done military protocol for her USO tours or whatever knows how off the walls batshit crazy she is. She came to visit Ramstein a long time ago and the general's quarters, the nicest place on a very nice base, weren't good enough for her because everything has to be white. Every single thing. So we frantically found her a hotel room in Frankfurt, 90 minutes away, which was as all white as could be found, and had the pleasure of driving her to, from multiple times a day while she nagged about making other cars on the autobahn slow down, why her hotel was so far, why she couldn't get her favorite American drinks at a rest stop, etc. She expected Pope and presidential level treatment. She is absolutely horrible, so her attitude matches her music. I was fortunate enough to be involved in a number of films shot in South Africa. I got to meet and greet some well-known celebs, but a few stand out. I will list them in greatest cockwomble to minor cockwomble order. Steven Seagal. Absolute bell end. Was looking for hookers while married, coked out of his head while on set, just a general douche canoe. Kiefer Sutherland. Mamma mia, this guy thought that every time the sun came up it was because he had his pants down to take a shit. Decent enough to the people who directed and mattered to him, everyone else was treated like dirt. Bob Hoskins. Just generally a bit of a prick, lost his shit at people for the littlest things. Rona Mitra was pretty nice though, friendly and congenial and just so very pretty IRL. Leonardo DiCaprio was actually much nicer than I would have expected, took his mom with him wherever he went, was very nice to crew and extras, and pretty much everyone. Great attitude too. Anyway, that's my 2C. Ran into Pierce Brosnan while on vacation in Hawaii before Daniel Craig took the role of James Bond. He was in a gift shop and we bumped into each other. Out of surprise I pulled out my finger gun and shot him in classic Bond fashion, right in the gut. He staggered back and held his stomach, slowly dying in this gift store in front of me. As a 12-year-old it was the coolest thing ever. I was sitting in the lounge in one of the big music studios in Hollywood, and Bruno Mars walks up, looks at me, and says, "Where the fuck is my cab?" I looked at him and said, "Who the fuck are you?" I really had no idea who he was, haha. But dude did act like an absolute dick. Nicest guy ever, Billy Ray Cyrus. The studio had a policy that you're never supposed to touch the food any of the artists order or bring in, and you're especially not supposed to take any home. As I was leaving he slipped me 2 huge meat and cheese trays out the door when no one was looking. As an intern trying to make it as an audio engineer, that sustained me for almost 2 weeks. Probably 10 or 11 years ago, I was working BTS of a WWE house show. My job was to find the contest winners and bring them to introduce them to a couple of the bigger stars. My immediate report went to Ricky Steamboat, who was incredible. I had a question for him, don't remember what it was anymore, but he was standing there talking to Chris Jericho. Not wanting to be rude, I stood to the side, waiting for their conversation to end before I interrupted. Jericho stopped mid-sentence, looked at me and said, "Are you fucking lost?" When Ricky turned around to see who Jericho was talking to, he recognized me and was super pleasant and answered my question, but Jericho was pissed and thought I was a groupie or something. Used to work at a Hard Rock hotel. Mariah Carey was the absolute definition of a fucking diva. She used a bunch of employee passageways and we were instructed that if we looked her in the eyes we would get written up. We were also told that we had to immediately vacate any room that she entered, even if we were in the cafeteria on break or in the bathroom doing our business. She's an asshole on top of that too. A few of her backup dancers accused her of sexual assault during #Me Too and nothing ever came of it. Met Naomi and Wynonna Judd at a meet and greet session at Kmart corporate headquarters. I had a Kmart store planned from their hometown for them to autograph. Wynonna was a complete sugar bitch. She scribbled her name on it and then crunched up the paper and threw it at me with some sarcastic comment about rednecks and hillbillies. Then her mom, Naomi, took the paper, gently smoothed it out and told me that it was the most thoughtful thing she had autographed all day. Very nice and genuine woman. How are those two blood related? I met Ric Flair when I was 8. Those rumors of him being a dick to kids is all true, folks. He was a dick to me as a kid too. Flipped me off. I think I was 12. I saw Pete Rose at the airport on Thursday. He saw my Braves gear I was wearing and said Braves are getting beat, buddy. I asked for picture and he just replied the score, 6-0. Okay, this one made me laugh. Never change, Pete, never change. Also go Bravos my dude. I was pissed off and at the end of my work day, so when I saw an open elevator not crowded with folk as I was leaving, I quickly got in and pressed my floor number when I heard a thick voice behind me, sounding a bit far away, saying, "Hold the door." I pretended not to hear given shit mood. Doors are closing and I turn. That's when Schwarzenegger's pissed off face appears behind the slit between the ever-closing doors. I asked you to hold the door, then they shut in his face and the elevator went down. I'm so sorry T800.
Make sure to like and subscribe for more stories.